It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. We're going to be talking trails at the Prescott National Forest. Trails and Wilderness Manager Jason Williams in studio for the first time. Welcome aboard. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm good.
Great.
Yep.
We're going to talk trails both on the Quad City side as well as on the Verde Valley side. Before we do, though, I mentioned it before the show, we had the Coconino National Forest in here. We talked trails with them, and they were mentioning that Prescott National Forest, your trail system, also made the USDA's 300-mile Greater Prescott Trail System had been named to a list of 15 priority areas to help address the more than $300 million trail maintenance backlog. Is that an accurate figure?
Yeah, I mean, that generally speaking.
$300 million.
We always have a backlog, it seems, since I've been in the agency the last 10 years. And that means that, every year you try to address a certain number of miles. We have about 900 miles now. Let's say we had 1,000. We'd love to address 20% of our mileage every year and do annual maintenance. Well, when you don't address 20% of your trails every year, you start to fall into a backlog situation.
Okay.
And the more you fall into a backlog, the worse and worse it gets. The more erosion you get, the more rocks exposed, the more roots exposed, the harder it gets to catch up. And so it starts to snowball on you. So that figure every year will get bigger exponentially.
Now, we were talking before the show, it's expensive. Trail maintenance is not a cheap thing. It's just you and one other person that is in charge of all these trails.
Yes. Yeah.
You said 900 miles?
Yeah, we have about 900 miles, and we authorize.
Prescott National Forest.
Yep. And we're currently authorizing new trails. And so when we're all said and done, maybe 5 to 10 years from now, we might be looking at a system of about 1,200 miles on the Prescott Forest.
One thing we didn't cover with the Coconino National Forest, and you could probably touch on this real quick, is when you say trail maintenance.
Right.
When I think of a trail, I think it's pretty rugged already, you know.
Right.
I've been doing some trail hiking recently, and there's areas where it's, I'm stepping up, from the ground up to a big rock, and it's not this smoothed out, really nice gravelly trail that I'm walking on.
Right.
It's the forest, and I'm out in the wild, so it should be kind of rough. But what kind of trail maintenance, when you say trail maintenance, what are we talking about?
Well, it's interesting because we want to provide a spectrum of opportunities for the public to enjoy their public lands. And that's going to be from your paved path around, say, Lynx Lake in the Prescott area.
Okay.
Half of that trail is paved and has rock or manufactured block walls on it. And then let's go and take the extreme and go to Castle Creek Wilderness, where it's your rocky path that you can barely follow. And we're going to provide the opportunity for everything between those two.
Okay.
Because varying people want different experiences. And so not everybody can make that 12-inch step or negotiate the loose rocky path, but they still want to get out into nature and see the beauty. And so we want to provide that spectrum. And so in some cases, it's doing asphalt patch. And in other cases, it's beating back some brush and making sure that somebody can follow that path. Putting in drainage so that we don't end up with a trail that you're walking in a V-trench, and so that we can keep people on the surface of the earth and not down in.
I had some of that V experience this last weekend, and I thought, my ankles are getting kind of tired of walking like this. So, okay.
Right.
All right.
And so what we do with that, we have a joke on the Prescott. Sometimes I say Prescott National Brush, because we have a lot of oak brush.
Okay.
And that creates a situation where if you get into that trench, you might be walking below the top of that brush, and you can't see the forest, right? You can't see the beauty on the landscape. And so some maintenance is for resource protection, so we're not sending soil downstream into creeks and rivers, and for the user experience to be enjoyable and safe. And so that's where it all starts to add up. We're trying to maintain to protect the resource, but we're also trying to provide a good experience so that you want to come back and you want to potentially even volunteer to help maintain that favorite trail or something like that.
How do you pack all this stuff back in there? I mean, you don't drive a truck down the trail.
No, and
you gotta carry this stuff back in there.
And we use just like the spectrum, of opportunities. We use the spectrum of modes of transportation. Hiking is generally going to be the easiest way to get someplace, and you use hand tools and you brush out, and if it's big stuff, you might be using a chainsaw. But then when we get into really remote places, say Sycamore Canyon Wilderness or Castle Creek, we'll use horse packing, we'll use some mules. If we're really remote, we'll get supplies in that way. We might just pack water in and have the crews backpack in and carry tools. Or we have 400 miles of motorized trail, might use an ATV or a UTV, or even more recently we've started using a motorcycle with a little trailer that can haul some stuff in. And so
expensive work. It's got to be.
Yeah, and maintenance actually, sometimes our maintenance costs, 40% of the cost can be what we call move in, move out. And
I
so
can see that.
That's something that we always have to figure into the figures, like, oh gosh, we're working 2 miles in. Well, that's gonna be costly.
Let me ask you this. Let's put an average on this, Jason.
Yeah.
On an average mile of trail in the
Right.
Prescott National Forest, what does it cost to maintain a mile of average trail?
Right.
It's average.
If we're doing really general maintenance on a newly built trail that doesn't have backlog issues, I mean, gosh, it could be as cheap as $500 a mile. Or it could be as expensive as $5,000 a mile if we're trying to do backlog maintenance.
Okay, so on some of the older trails that have been around for a long time and get used a lot. And,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And if we don't address our maintenance issues over time, we're going to end up getting stuck there and spending more money there. And so it's really important that we try to do the annual maintenance that we can, and even skip some backlog sometimes, so that we keep stuff in good shape.
Have you seen increased use of trails?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've noticed it as well, just the few times I've been out now.
Yeah.
But you've seen a definite increase across Yavapai County and the Prescott National Forest.
Yeah. I mean, if we watch the population growth figures in Arizona and Yavapai County, those continue to grow, and so trail recreation continues to grow. And we get a lot of visitation locally. We draw from Phoenix. We don't necessarily draw nationally. And we've seen, a dramatic increase. I mean, in the last decade, we've probably seen a 25 to 30% increase, which is pretty significant.
Okay. Is there enough for everybody?
There does appear to be in the Prescott area, for sure. Every second person is somebody you know, and even on a weekend day, you can get out on the trail and not necessarily run into somebody.
Okay. That gives us, I think, a pretty good general overview of what your job is and what's going on.
Right.
How about we take our break a little bit early, because we were supposed to talk about the Prescott side of the mountain and then this side of the mountain, but we'll come back and we'll split the second half of the show.
Yeah.
We'll talk what's going on with Prescott side and what's going on with the Verde Valley side, okay?
Absolutely.
Let's do that, okay. Trails and Wilderness Manager with the Prescott National Forest, Jason Williams, in studio today. This is Countywide. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking trails with Prescott National Forest Trails and Wilderness Manager Jason Williams today. This information all available on the Prescott National Forest website.
Yeah.
All trail
Generally.
information is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to kind of split this in half.
Okay.
Let's talk, how are things going on the Prescott side of the hill, the Quad City area, when it comes to trails?
Right. So, you know, our trail maintenance, our trail development, all of that is driven by our partnerships. And that includes our nonprofit partners, you know, trail user organizations, the mountain bikers, the horsemen, the hikers, the runners, the motorcyclists, the ATV riders. And so all those folks are engaged. And then the city of Prescott, the city of Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey-Humboldt even, we engage with all of them and Yavapai County to get our work done and to provide that opportunity for the public. And so with being named a priority area in the nation, that wouldn't have happened without all that partner engagement. We had support letters from all of them. And what they bring to the table is they bring the community desires for the trail system and the needs. And they help disseminate the information about, you know, what's the proper use of the trail system. Like, all of those organizations and user groups I just named, they actually come together for this little group called the Prescott Trail Safety Coalition. We had a few negative interactions and accidents maybe 5 years ago between equestrians and mountain bikes due to blind corners in our brush over there in Prescott. You know, we got really windy, kind of some fast trails, and we have all this brush that grows up and creates blind corners, and so sometimes users don't see each other. And that group came together and figured out, hey, we want to share these trails. We don't want to segment them out. We want to see how we can share them. And so they came up with custom signs to put up and press releases, did trailhead meet and greets together, and really successful. And so as we move forward, we've authorized 90 miles of new trail in the last 3 years.
Okay.
We're currently in the process of building out 70 additional miles, and we're analyzing another 60 to 70 miles of motorized trails for in the Prescott area. And so the only reason we're willing to do that is because of this community involvement. We can't maintain it or build it without our partners, without our volunteers. And so all of those organizations and user groups make it happen for us. We can tell our regional office that yes, we can maintain this and we can do this sustainably because we have this group of great partners and volunteers.
You got some backing there.
We've got backing.
What areas are they looking at that are most important to folks over there, where they'd like to see more of these trails going in?
Right. So the Granite Mountain area has pretty well been developed. And then so like just move over the hill there and we're in the Spence Basin area up by Highland Pines, and then you know, in the Groom Creek area, and then over by Lynx Lake, what's called the 7 Mile Gulch is what we're looking at right now for a system of single-track motorized trails, which is going to be really unique and exciting. And we're just looking at what that system's going to look like right now. Trying to connect things. That's the big thing in trail development now is we want to connect communities, we want to connect trails over long distances and short. We want to provide loops and long loops. This Prescott Circle Trail we have is 54 miles long, and it completely goes around the city of Prescott now. And it's like a big wheel with spokes going inside and even spokes going outside. Huh. And as we get further out, now we're working on a motorized trail that might not go all the way around the city, but it's further out and it is on forest and will connect, say, from Dewey-Humboldt all the way to Alto Pit over by Granite Mountain, and you don't have to be street legal.
Well, that's awesome.
And so, and that's not just for motorized, it's multi-use, you know. Anything below the motorcycle or the ATV can use it. So equestrians, hikers, and mountain bikers all can use that motorized trail. And most of our non-motorized trail are multi-use as well. They allow the 3 primary non-motorized users, and that's equestrians, mountain bikes, and hikers.
You know, I noticed over the weekend we were hiking down by Enchantment Resort in Boynton Canyon. Mm-hmm. And there was a mountain bike thing going on. I didn't know it was going to be happening, but we're out there hiking, and I noticed that the mountain bikers were pretty courteous. I mean, I'd step off the trail a lot because there was so many going by, but you could hear a little bell ringing sometimes, or you would hear them say, "Hey, I'm coming up on you." And as they went by, they'd say, "Thank you for stepping off the trail. Excuse us. I've got 3 more behind me."
Exactly.
And would let us know how many more were coming. So there was a pretty good etiquette out there, I noticed.
Yeah, and that's great to hear because and one of the things to bring up is like the bell. When you're a mountain biker, the bell sometimes feels a little rude. Like, oh, I don't want to.
Like you're honking a horn.
Like you're honking a horn, but that's not the intent.
It's better than having bikes coming over my back.
The intent is like when it's blind, at least in the Prescott areas, tap the bell. And a horse will pick up on that really quickly.
Sure, and
before
that
a
alerts
rider
the rider.
will. You know, hikers will, and it's so easy for hikers to step off the trail, although they have the right of way. Hikers generally step off, and a mountain biker will be like, okay, I guess I'll go, even though I'm supposed to yield to you. And it's all about being courteous with each other. Yeah. You know, and being flexible.
We're all out there for the same goal.
Right.
We're just outside.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, people are people, and you can't blame a single user group for one person's poor behavior. It's just like any driver out there on the road. You know, there's going to be folks who occasionally are not courteous.
I thought it was interesting. Now we're gonna let folks know that there's all kinds of different volunteer opportunities with the trail systems. We're going to take care of that towards the end of the show, so keep that in mind. But we talked about Prescott. I know it's a punch list as usual on countywide. But we talked about the Prescott side, Verde Valley side. You mentioned before the show that there is kind of a lack of trail systems down here that's being worked on.
Yeah, so on the Prescott National Forest on the Verde Valley side, we managed from the river up towards Mingus Mountain and on down the river to Cedar Bench and the other peaks there. And we have a lot of trails up there, but we don't necessarily have trails that connect directly to the community because the development hasn't been up against the forest in recent years, and now it's just starting to be there. And so we want it to connect our communities, just as we were talking about. And one of the most exciting things is we're in the final stages of a process to authorize 130 additional miles on the Verde Ranger District alone for trails. And that includes some reroutes and some closures of some old trails and old roads that, you know, they're causing resource damage and no longer needed, but 130 new miles is very significant. And again, the only reason we feel comfortable doing that is the community involvement, the partnerships, because we have the support to do it, because me and one other person and a group of volunteers can't do it all. We need the cities and towns, which are really heavily engaged in the Verde Valley, which is really exciting.
Where are these trails at?
The trails that we're proposing, the most exciting one is we're extending the Black Canyon Trail, the National Recreation Trail, off the BLM land to the south of Highway 169, and it'll tie into the Verde River. And eventually it'll keep going north. But this stage will bring on 37 new miles there. And then over in Grief Hill, there'll be a trail system.
Where's Grief Hill?
Just where Cherry Road and 260 is, just up there. And then West Mingus Avenue. Over there, there's going to be in Blowout Springs, it's a drainage in there, where we've done some remediation of an old dump site from 100 years ago. There'll be a trail network in there that'll connect to Yavapai College. We'll be meeting with Yavapai College. They've been a great partner of ours as well, and connect to Mesquite Hills and all of that. And so it's really exciting stuff. And then on the top of Mingus, for their summertime enjoyment, we're looking at having a rim trail that'll connect all the trails that kind of feed off. And so it will be a more gentle, easy trail. It won't be like you have to either go up or down the mountain. It'll stay on the rim.
Awesome.
And so lots of exciting stuff happening there. You know, we have so much going on in our planning process. You know, we have 3 districts on the Prescott National Forest. Bradshaw District is in Prescott. The Verde Ranger District is over here. And then we have the Chino Valley Ranger District. We're getting so much experience working with our communities and planning for new trails and recreation development that, you know, in the coming years, we may be just like, hey, let's just build on this experience and work on the Chino Valley Ranger District as well.
Awesome, awesome. We're going to take another break.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Jason Williams from the Prescott National Forest. He's the Trails and Wilderness Manager. This is Countywide. We'll take a quick 2-minute break and be right back.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
what to expect when you're expecting
Like here.
a teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to team-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey! Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. Great to have you in studio with us. We're going to talk volunteers now. We've talked about trails, both Prescott side, Quad City side, Verde Valley side, and you keep talking about partnerships and that we need the public support because there is only the two of you who are supposed to go out and fix all these trails, and that's too much work. Now, I've done stories, and Debbie Manelia has sent me the press releases about how certain days of the week we're going to be at this such and such a trail system. You can find all this out on the Prescott National Forest website. You go there, and people can volunteer and come out for the day.
Right. So we have two primary opportunities on the forest that we do every week, and that's our Verde Trail volunteers over here on Wednesdays. Meet at 8 a.m. at our district office right there on the other side of White Bridge, and go out for 4 or 5 hours. And you know, if it's cold out, you'd be down here in the valley working on trails, and if it's nice and warm out, you go up on top of Mingus Mountain and work on trails up there. And that's the way we've gotten a lot of work done in the last year. That was a new group that started just over a year ago, very successful. We have a handful of volunteers coming out right now. We'd love to increase that to about 10 folks. On the Prescott side, we have the Over the Hill Gang, which is almost probably 2 decades old now, and started on the Prescott National Forest in the late 90s. And they go out every Thursday, 8 a.m. to noon. It's very religious. There's a break at 10 a.m., and we have our we have a sage with us. Our oldest serving volunteer is 87. Oh gosh, I might get it wrong, but he keeps us on time. He makes sure we take breaks, and you know, it's a really great experience, not only to give back and maintain trail, but also the camaraderie of folks hanging out in the woods and doing some good stuff. And so it's a good time. And so those are the two opportunities we have every week. And then we always have Saturday and Sunday events with various user groups, but those are open to the public. And we actually partner with the city of Prescott, and they have their own Over the Hill Gang that works on Mondays and Fridays as well. And they may work on city lands, or they may come work on forest lands as well. And that's one of the beauties of the partnership, is we work on each other's land. And you know, it's almost seamless management is what we're after there.
And again, all this information can be found on the Prescott National Forest website.
Yep, on the website, or contacting me or Tony Papa. You can call our district offices, and those folks will get you right to us.
More the merrier, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's what we need to make all this happen and make it great.
We have a minute left.
Yep.
Now, we may have some money coming because of this designation that happened.
Right, we hope.
In February.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're hoping on the money.
Yep.
But it could be, what'd you say, like a year before it even happens?
The wheels of government turn slow.
Right.
It puts us in the queue at a much higher standing to apply for additional funds that our regional office always has left over. And it'll help us reduce the backlog. You know, we'll use our volunteers in some of our more prominent areas, and then when it gets to those remote places where we got to camp out, you know, hopefully we'll get some extra funds and get some youth corps out there, youth crews to support that work.
All right, we're out of time. Jason, thank you so much for coming in.
Paul.
If you need something, just let me know.
I will.
And we'll do this again. And
Okay.
we'll get an update from you maybe in a year from now. We'll see how things are coming along. So because things are happening by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
All right. Prescott National Forest Trails and Wilderness Manager Jason Williams. This has been Countywide. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.